movies about our relationships with our fellow man, movies about our relationships with our family, movies that are introspective about our relationship with ourselves. Didi is all of these things, and it's great. Hey everybody, my name is Nick. I'm a director and editor, and today I'm going to be talking about the film Didi, directed by Sean Wang. So Didi is a film that I was really excited to see because I had seen Sean Wang's short documentary that was nominated for an Oscar called Nai Nai and Waipo, and that is one of my absolute favorite short documentaries. I don't have a lot of favorite short documentaries, but that is probably my favorite. Yeah, I would say that. I think it's a beautiful film that everyone should watch. It's a great movie that has a lot of heart, made me cry. That's not really that hard. I cry pretty easily. But, you know, it's a great film. So I was excited to see a feature and a narrative feature from this director because prior to Nai Nai and Waipo, I hadn't heard of him. And so I initially assumed that he was a documentary filmmaker, but turns out he had written and directed a narrative feature that just came out. Now, Didi is a very standard kind of dramatic indie art film, I would say. It's a film that was more common to see perhaps in the mid-2000s. It's a type of film that we don't see made that much anymore these days. There was a sort of criticism that I've heard from some of the art film elites, we like to call them. Maybe I'm one of them, maybe I'm not, probably not. I don't like to consider myself part of that, but maybe I am. I think I am. I have a film channel. The art film elites have slightly criticized this film for being pretty standard, nothing new. I would personally push back a little bit against that because of the time and place that this film is being created. This is a type of film that we very rarely see anymore. A smaller, mid-budget family drama that is about emotions and relationships. It's the type of film that doesn't really catch the eye on the streamers. It's the type of film that doesn't really get the play in the movie theaters, the big runs. And you can see from the marketing campaign that Sean is smartly running that he's really kind of pushing it out in theaters, which I think is a cool thing to be doing at this moment in time, which is to say that people want to go to the theater to see a film that is personally affecting to them. It doesn't always have to be a giant, big budget, you know, tent pole movie, as they say. You can want to go to the theater to view something that is a simple family drama about human emotions. It's something that I sorely miss, and it's the type of film that I used to love to go see at a time in my life, which was younger, which is probably around the time where this movie Didi is set, which is when I was going to the movie theater all the time and watching all of these movies that were maybe mid-budget movies that were just about people, you know? That is, to me, an important element of film. Movies about our relationships with our fellow man, movies about our relationships with our family, movies that are introspective about our relationship with ourselves. Didi is all of these things, and it's great to see that on the screen again. And I think it's the reason why a lot of people fall in love with filmmaking, is they see a movie and it touches them personally. And I think a movie like Didi has the ability to do that on so many levels. That is what makes the movie complex. That is what makes the movie interesting. From a technical standpoint, from a nerd standpoint, from a kind of pushing the genre of film further standpoint, it's not doing those things. It's a standard movie. It's not shot in any way that's like revolutionary or unique. It doesn't have, extensive experimental concepts within it. So as a film kind of snob nerd, whatever, which I'm part of that community, guilty. I can see the reason why people might not be drawn to this film. However, I can also see through what I've been reading on social media, the town square, as people would say, that this movie is connecting with a lot of people, and it's very easy to see why after you watch it. I think this movie's best trait is that it is emotionally effective, and it is real. The one thing that a lot of people initially connect with, that you see people talking about online, is that it's a very good depiction of this specific time period, which would be like the 2010 period. Personally, I'm a little bit older than the director. He was born in 1994. I was born in 1987. So his kind of junior high, high school experiences are different than mine. However, I can recognize that time period a little bit, but I don't recognize the specifics of going through junior high at that specific time. But there's a lot of people, obviously, who are alive, who do. And I take their word for it that this is an authentic representation of what that was like for them. I think that the Asian American element of it, people are expressing online that this is extremely authentic. And I think it's important to listen to people when they say, hey, I'm watching this movie and this movie makes me feel seen. This movie speaks to my experience of growing up as an Asian American in Southern California in this specific time period. That's a specific group of people that really feels connected to this movie, and that's great. And then the other cool thing is that it's not just sectioned off into that. Me watching this movie, there's a lot of universal elements that I connect with that connect me to that character and build empathy for me to that character and allow me to see like, oh wow, I know what this feels like. He has it from his perspective and I can relate it back to my lived experiences. So even though I didn't grow up in Southern California in 2010, I do know what it is like to go through junior high and feel like you hate yourself and to have all these awkward moments occur to you. And the way that Didi portrays this time period, it's coming of age story after all, it really brings you into that headspace in a way that I would say is a little bit scary. Like I had forgotten a lot of the feelings of what it was like to be in junior high and to care so much about a girl that you like, or people thinking that you're not cool, or worrying that your mother and your family was going to embarrass you. Those are feelings that a lot of children have, and it causes them to behave in ways that are self-destructive and feed into this cycle of self-hatred that is subtly done. Because I would say the stakes of Didi are not high, but that's the point. They're not high in reality, but they're high stakes for the character. And it brings you to this headspace of like, I remember when these things were super high stakes for me too. And that is an interesting place to be. And I believe this film teaches you a lot about self-forgiveness, because I think a lot of these core memories that we have of our time in junior high and the things that happened to us and the ways that we acted, I think as therapy might do, this film does. It shows you, listen, you were doing the best that you can and you didn't behave in a way that was correct all the time, but this is what it is to figure out who you are and what's happening. It's a really hard time to be in junior high, and this film really shows that. And so I loved that about this movie. The other thing I loved about this movie is that it's not just about him. It's about his family. And it's almost, in my opinion, more about his family than him. The film is called Didi. Why? The film's called Didi because he is a little brother. So you can't separate that from the family element. He is connected to the family element. And the director really shows us how important this is to him and his development and his personal story by casting his actual Nai, his grandma, in the film. She's in the documentary. She's great in the documentary that I love. And she acts in this film. And there's a very personal element to it. And you can really see how important these familiar relationships are to this director and how much he wants to communicate how these family relationships, particularly with women in his family, changed him and allowed him to grow and love himself. And I don't want to give away too much about the changes in the family because I want you to go see this movie, but there's a really interesting thing to explore when you watch it. Pay attention to his relationship with his older sister, with his relationship with his mother, and with his relationship with his Nai, his grandma. This, to me, is the point of the film, these relationships. It's about himself and growing within himself, but the female characters are the kind of background stars of this movie. In my opinion, it's kind of who this movie is really about. So that's something to think about. The elements at work in this movie are compounded on each other, and no one thing really flips. He does a good job of setting up important incidents that, as a frequent film viewer and person who's seen a lot of movies, you can recognize as like, oh, so this is kind of the thing that's going to turn and change and make this person realize what's going on. And it doesn't really happen in that way. The reality is his character and the building of a person's character is something that happens gradually over time. And I would say the theme of this is learning to love your family and learning to love yourself, as those two things are connected. And it's a gradual process. It's not something that you have an incident, you have a great success, and it changes. Because the reality that I've found is that people forget their success and they remember their failure, especially people that are hard on themselves. And I can get a sense that Sean Wang, when he thinks of his childhood, is being a little bit hard on himself. But this film was a process of allowing himself to forgive who he was. Now, this is a lot of psychoanalytic stuff, and it might all totally be wrong. He might be like, nah, I think I'm great, I'm the best. I think the thing to take away from this film, if you're a viewer of this channel, because I think a lot of people that view this channel love art films, kind of avant-garde things, that's stuff that I love. I think the important thing to consider with this movie is that there is a very important place for a film that is standardized but emotionally effective. And I think that there's an important place for this type of film now, especially in the cinema landscape, because that type of film is disappearing, which is a scary thing. And I really love that Sean Wang is really pushing this type of film out. He's really developing a marketing campaign that is encouraging people to go see this movie. And I really hope that people do go see this movie and make this movie successful so that we can get more of this and less of the big tentpole kind of blockbuster, quote unquote, movies, remakes, and the like. This, Didi, is the antidote to remakes. So if you're a film lover that wants to see new things, that wants to stop seeing remakes, of course we want to see crazy, weird stuff, but that is never going to catch hold of the broader audience. That is a niche thing. That's why a lot of film nerds and people that like avant-garde cinema like it, because it's unique and because it's not widely understood. A film like Didi, however, can be original, can be representative of filmic situations that we haven't seen before, but it can also appeal to the broader audience because in a lot of ways it's a standard way of storytelling and it's only pushing the limits in small, subtle ways. And that to me is the way that you change the filmic landscape that we're in. That's to me the way that we move the industry forward and continue to get the type of films that mean things to people, the type of films that inspire new filmmakers, the type of films that encourage people who only watch normal films to branch out a little bit. They can think, hey, I watched this kind of cool indie movie called Didi. Maybe I'll check out another cool indie movie. If you like this review, remember to like, share, subscribe. You've been on YouTube, you know what to do. Just also be nice in the comments. I'm a nice person. Let's all be nice to each other. Let's do another thing. Let's change the way that we talk to each other on the internet, because we don't have to be mean. We just don't. I mean, if you think that I'm bad, dumb, idiot, loser, don't know what I'm talking about, confusing, you disagree, write it in the comments. But hey, let's be nice to each other, all right? All right, see you guys next time.